As Robert mentioned, it is actually a product that allows customers to actually streamline their like pricing and also price list management in Sage 300. First of all, I just want to point out that like for this particular product, there are actually two different modules. One module is for order entry and inventory control, and the other module is for accounts receivable only. So it can actually work with accounts receivable alone, with a GL, of course. So I'll first start off with the OE pricing module. So this module is actually designed for small and mid-sized trading businesses, basically companies who need to have like pricing for different customers, and basically have different like volume discounts set up for different customers. They might have like seasonal promotions that actually run during different like periods during the year. And what happens right now is because of limitations in inventory control, which is limitations in setting up the number of the level of this volume discounts, and also limitations on customer types for discounts, they might have like many different price lists set up in IC. You actually like break through the different limitations of IC right now. And the whole idea of this product is to simplify price list management in the entry inventory control by specifying just like one price list for each item, for each currency. And basically that would allow the customer to actually set up like one price list for an item, and then set up different discount schemes based on different customer types, different item groups, etc. And then the price would actually flow through based on just like that one particular base price for the item. Okay. Another thing is it also replaces the contract pricing in inventory control right now. As you know, right now you can actually set up like discounts in inventory control, and there's a separate screen for you to set up like contract pricing for a particular customer on different or basically a set of items or specific item. And basically these are two different setups that you have to do inside inventory control, and it's actually hard to maintain, very hard to maintain and update in the customer's perspective. And using this like pricing product, they basically set up all the things all in the same UI, the same setup, without having to set up all these in separate functions. So as I said, basically like this pricing product allows you to set up unlimited levels of volume discounts, unlimited discounts for different customer types, and this basically overcomes the current limitations in inventory control, which results in a lot of like price lists that needs to be maintained by the customer. On top of that, we also added some other reports so that you can actually measure like sales performance against profits, against like pricing and discounts. And I'll show you all of these like during the demo, how it actually relates to the sales performance that relates, or how it actually the sales performance against the price or discounts you have set up in the system. Okay, so the setup is actually pretty easy. So you only need to set it up in 3 simple steps. The first one is to set up, of course, the price list for an item. And as I mentioned earlier, with this product, you can only set up, you can just like set up one price list for an item for a currency. And basically that would be the base price for the item. Okay. The second step would be to set up groups for customers and items. And what you want to do is actually group customers or group items for pricing purposes or for discount purposes later when you set up the discounts. And then the third step would be to define the discount levels or the discount setup. So basically, when you set up a discount, you can actually set it up against like different combinations of a particular customer against a particular item, or group of customers against a particular group of items, etc., etc. And for each of these combinations, you can set up discounts for different promotional periods. And of course, as I mentioned before, you can set up a unlimited number of volume discounts against this particular discount ID. Okay, once all these are set up, then all the user needs to do is just use the regular order entry screen and enter an order. So there's no particular screen or special screen they need to use. They just use the regular order entry screen, enter an order. And what happens during the order entry is when an item is added to the order, the quantity is entered for a particular item. For example, the price list would be the unit price of that item would be calculated based on the base price, the price list, and also the discount applicable to that particular item based on the quantity that is being sold to the customer. Okay, and another thing is we also added something what we call the price suggestion. So inside the order entry screen, there's a finder, and when you call up the finder for the unit price for a particular item, it would actually show exactly how the system calculates the unit price for that particular item. So for this example, it actually shows the user what is the base price of the item and what is the volume discount that is applied to that item. And then it also shows what if the user buys more. Let's say this particular example, it says like the user ordered 18 of those items, but if the user enters like 20 or the user orders 20 of those items, then they would actually get a better discount and suggested a better pricing for that particular customer. So this becomes like an upsell opportunity right away for the order entry person to tell the customer, like if they actually order a little bit more, they actually get a better discount and would result in a much better price. Okay, so instead of just like showing the product in the presentation, I'll just like go and show you a demo of the product. Okay, so after the pricing product is installed and activated for a company, the pricing module will be added into inventory control. So you can see all the screens related to the setup here. But what I'm going to go through would be a visual process flow that actually shows like what should be the process of setting up the product. So first of all, the first thing you need to do would be, of course, to set up like a pricing for a base price for a particular item. So let's say I want to set up a base price for this item. And of course, it's just a regular IC item pricing screen. And this is where the user would set up the base price for a particular item. So this is standard for Sage 300. And hopefully with the pricing product implemented, they would not need to have like so many different price lists. They would only need one price list for each item for each currency. So this would be the first step. Then the second step would be to group customers and items. So let's say if I want to group some customers, and I have some examples here. I might have some frequent customers who come in and actually buy a lot of stuff from this company, and I want to give them special discounts or set up them some discounts specifically for this group of items. So I can actually group these customers as a group. So basically this screen shows like a list of all the customers on the left side, and I can actually search for customers just like finders, and then basically select customers and then move them to the list on the right side, and it would group the customers into this particular pricing group.
Edmund, is it possible to enlarge your screen a little bit?
Sure. So it's actually showing quite small here.
A little bit.
Okay, I'll try to zoom in when I show a screen. Is that better?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so as I said, like this is the way how you actually group the customers into different groups. So right now, this is like a frequent customer group. I can actually show you another one, which is like business partners, which is in another group. So it's like fairly straightforward. And then I can also group items for discount purposes later when I set up the volume discounts. So this is the screen where you can actually set up the item groupings. So I already set up a group, let's say discontinue items with these items in the group, and I can set up like special discounts for these group of items later on. And same as the customer grouping, I can actually do sortings or filtering on the left, and then select the items I want to include the group into the group on the screen. So once these are all set up, okay, I'll just zoom out a little bit. Then the last step would be to set up volume discounts. Okay, here I can set up some volume discounts. So I already set up a few. So I just like show you one example. The first one is a discount I set up. And as I mentioned before, the discounts setup would be a combination between like a different customer groups or different item groups. So here for this particular discount I set up, it's for all customers buying a particular group of items. In this case, all the discontinued items. And I already set up some discount period, which is across the whole year, for example. And then if I click on the details, you can see I set up these sort of volume discounts. So if a particular customer buys like 10 of these items, they will get a 20% discount. If they buy 20 of those, they get a 30% discount, so on and so forth. Okay, so one thing I point out is like here where you set up the volume discounts, it could be unlimited. So it's not like in the current inventory control where you can only set up 5 levels of discount. With the pricing product, you can set up unlimited levels of discounts. Okay, and for the discounts, you can set up the discounts as a percentages or amounts, so fixed amounts. But I think like most of the customers would actually set up like discounts are based on percentages. Okay. Okay, so this is a simpler example. Let me move on to, let's say, another example. This example shows a discount set up for a group of customers here, which is the frequent customer group. If they buy any of the items, then they would have a different discount set up. So this particular discount has one discount period set up for the entire year with a particular discount level, 10%, and then 20%, and then 15%. and also a special promotional period between, I set it up earlier, March 1st to March 31st. So you can actually preset these discount and promotional periods into the system, and when the time comes and when you enter an order into the system with the posting date that falls into the special promotion period, the system would automatically pick up the special discount for that particular period. Okay, so once all these are set up, just like 3 different things to set up, the user would need to just like enter orders just regularly using the order entry screen. So this is the order entry screen. So if I try to put in an order, let's say for customer 1200, Ronald Black, and then an item, let me call up the pop-up just to make it a bit easier to see. Okay, so let's say here I'm trying to, the customer is trying to order this particular item, and the initial unit price is $85 right now. Okay, so if I enter an order of like 5 for that particular item, you can see that the unit price is still 85, but if I enter, let's say 10 of these, you can see the unit price changed to $68, and that is because the pricing engine of the product already takes care and calculated the discounts based on the quantity. So here, the order entry screen has a finder. We also overrided the finder. So if you click on the finder here, you can see that the finder actually shows how the system actually comes up with this particular price of $68. So the base price of this product is $85. And because there's a discount set up for this particular combination of customer number, 1200, and this item number, there's a volume discount set as 20% because the minimum order quantity is 10 for this particular discount, and the unit price becomes $68 right now. Okay, and that's how the system actually comes up with this $68 for the unit price. So let's say if the customer actually orders 18 instead of the 10. So you can see this unit price is still $68 because the minimum order quantity is 10. But if I call up the finder again, you would see a new line inside this finder. So it's basically telling the user that the base price is $85. Right now, the volume discount applied is 20%, and the unit price is $68. But then there's one more line, which is the suggested pricing. So what is telling the user is if the customer orders 20 of these items, they would actually get a better discount, which is 30%, and the unit price would be this, and the total amount would be even less than what the customer is getting right now. So this is one feature where the user can actually upsell to the customer right away and says like, hey, if you actually take more, 2 more, you get a better price. And if the customer says yes, the user can just like select this line, and the order would be amended to 20 for this particular item, and the unit price updated to $59.50. Yeah, so basically this is how easy it is for the user to use. There's nothing particular or no special screen the user really need to run. They just run the regular order entry to make use of this like pricing module after the setup. Okay, so let's say if I just post this, so this order is done. Okay, Another thing I want to show you is the inquiry screen, because we also added in an inquiry screen for you to easily find out. Let's say if a customer wants to order something, or if the customer calls in and asks like what the price would be if they order this particular item today, what kind of discount they will get. And this is a very simple inquiry the user can actually use to find out the price for the customer without going into order entry. So let's say if customer 1200 again, let's say the sale date is today. The price list code is USA, quantity 10, UM. And then I can do an inquiry, and basically this like shows exactly the same kind of information the user sees inside the order entry finder. So for this particular combination of the customer, item, and the date, and basically the unit price of this item is $85, and there's a volume discount applied 20%, so it becomes like $68. If the customer orders 18, for example, they will also see the price suggestion here. So basically here, what it's suggesting is if the customer is buying like 20 of those instead of 18, they actually get a better discount. And also the screen will actually show the unit price and also the total amount. So it actually makes it a very quick inquiry if the customer calls in and asks like what kind of price I'm going to get if I'm ordering like that particular item today. Okay. So these are the functions for the pricing, but I want to show you some reports that we included in the product. The first one is what we called a price trend report. So let's say if I want to look up the price trend of some items starting from July to today. Okay. So what this is showing is we actually added some sort of like an order logging type feature into the item pricing. So what this report shows you is during this particular period, like July to September, for this particular item, A11030, these are the price for the different price lists. So let's say if I look at US dollar, the retail price in August, the base price was initially $59.99. And then the user admin actually changed the price in August 14. And this is the new base price, $69.99. And so on, so forth. So basically, this gives you an order log of like who actually did a price change inside inventory control for a particular item, which does not exist in inventory control right now. And we actually know that a lot of users actually want to have some sort of like order logging or these sort of like reports to actually log the price changes in the system. Because right now in inventory control, once a price was changed, it's changed, and there's no history of that at all. So here another example would be another item. You can see like this particular item for this price list. These are the dates and where a particular user actually changed the price. Okay. And then another report would be the sales performance report. I want to show you. Again, I want to show you a range, let's say starting from July to September. So what this report gives the user is, it actually tells the user After they set up all the different discounts for a particular item, does that actually help sale at all? So this report basically shows for a particular item, for a particular currency, at a particular base price. And because I actually changed the base price of this item along this period, you will see different base prices. But let's say if we look at just like one base price, $59.99, you can actually see with this particular base price, no discount, these are the quantities I've sold for that particular item, the total sales amount, and also total margin for all those sales. And I have also sold the same item based on a 20% discount to some customers. And this is the total quantity, and this is the total sales and margin, and 30%, 45%, etc. So basically, that gives the customer a picture of whether setting up like discounts or many levels of discounts actually help sale or not, or whether there's a sweet spot of setting the discounts. Like, let's say for this particular example, like maybe I'm this is this particular sweet spot because I actually set like a 45% discount for a particular volume, and it actually helps sale quite a bit for this particular period. But the thing is, like, if I look at the total margin, it might not help that great at all. So that actually gives you a picture of like what is the effect of setting up the discounts for a particular item, rather than just like setting up discounts for the sake of setting up discounts. Okay, and I just want to show you another view of the same report. So the one I just showed you was the summary report. But if I switch to a report type, which is the base price to sales, so these two items I sold nothing. So I'll show you the next page. So this is basically more of like a graphical display of what happens to your sales in relation to the base price that was set to the item. So at the bottom of this, for this particular item, the bottom graph actually shows the price trend of this particular item. And then the top is actually the sales for that particular item. So what this graph is basically saying is like initially the base price did not change for that item. At some point it was increased a little bit, but then the sales actually dropped dramatically, probably because of the price increase. And then later on it start picking up again. So basically, I'm just like fiddling with the sample data right now. But if it's actually actual data on the customer site, and basically it's spanning across like multiple and a longer period, it would actually show what is the relation of the sales to the price changes that was made to the particular items. So this is another example, another item. So this is the price trend for that particular item. Okay, so this would be the OE pricing. So let me just like go back to the presentation. Okay, so just now I covered the OE side of the pricing product. And as I mentioned earlier, there's also another module for AR alone. So that particular module is actually focused or designed for those customers who do not actually use inventory control. So some of the customers might be using AR, GL only. Probably they sell services primarily, so that's why they do not need to keep inventory. But right now in inventory, in accounts receivable, they can still invoice customers using AR invoice, but there's no pricing system at all inside AR right now. And there's only one thing, which is the base price of a product in AR item. There's no discount, no price list in AR. So AR pricing actually adds the whole new concept of like price list in AR, and also added the volume discounts in AR. So for these sort of customers, they can actually use AR standalone as a full invoicing system, and still have a systematic pricing scheme or a pricing system behind. And it also it includes the same like sales performance reports that I showed you earlier. So I just like quickly jump into the AR product. For the AR, there are again a few simple steps just to set up the system. First, set up the base price for the items. So this is set up inside the AR items screen. There's an item pricing tab where you can set up the item pricing for each item. Now, I mentioned we actually added a price list concept into the AR pricing. So there's a price list screen where you can set up different price list codes for different price lists. And we actually do it a little bit different from inventory control, the regular inventory control, because the price lists are more like formulas inside AR pricing. So you actually set up the percentage or markup price, markup percentage of the base price on a particular price list. So for example, you can actually set up a retail price list, and for a particular currency, it's actually 100%, 150% of the base price, and other price lists would be, let's say, wholesale, is actually a certain percentage of the base price. So once you set up these formulas, the price for that item would be calculated based on this particular formula. So you only set up one base price for the product, and then based on the formula, the selling price of that particular item would be calculated and flow through automatically into the system. And then the third step would be the same as OE pricing, grouping customers, grouping items, and then the last step would be setting up the volume discounts. And then for the user, again, they would be using the regular AR invoice entry screen to enter invoices, no special screen they need to run. And the prices would be automatically calculated based on the quantity and the item. And also we have the upsell suggested pricing functionality inside the AR pricing product. So I'll just like show you. So for AR pricing, the first step is to set up the base price for the products. So that would be the AR item pricing screen. So this would be the prices for this particular item based on the different currencies. And then this is the price list screen I mentioned. So I can set up, let's say for this particular as example, I have a retail price list set up. And for US dollars, it's 150% of the base price. For exactly the same item. Hello.
And then, sorry,
yes.
Sorry. And then can you just try to enlarge your screen?
Yes, I just enlarged it. So do you see the screen?
No, the ACPAC screen is quite small.
Or tell him to put his Zoom on. Zoom is at 83. Your last screen.
There you go. Fantastic.
Okay. Okay. So for this particular one, so this is the retail price list, and for the US dollars price list, it's I set it up as 150% off the base price. Okay. So for this one, I need to actually go back out Okay, let me know if you see the enlarged screen here because I'm using a different zoom, a different way to zoom into the screen.
Edmund, was better before. Zoom it at 100.
Go here. Oh, it's just-
So this is better.
This
This is better, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So just now, the one I show you is the retail price list. So this one, let's say, is a wholesale price list, and it's set up to be 80% for the US dollars, 80% of the base price. Okay. Okay. For the customer pricing group, it works exactly the same as the OE pricing. So I'm not going to talk about that anymore. Same thing for the item pricing groups. It works also the same as OE pricing. So of course here you can see that the item pricing group for AR would be for the items inside AR, the AR items rather than IC items. And then volume discounts. So it basically works exactly the same as well inside AR pricing. So I can actually set up a discount for any combination of customer group of any item or any customer. For this particular example is like any customer buying a group of items. I have 2 periods set up, one across the whole year and one between June and December, and they would have a different volume discount setup. So this basically works exactly the same as the OE pricing side. Okay, once these are all set up, then the user would just go into invoice entry. Let's say I create a new invoice, select an item, and then so here I'm having this particular, the initial one is like quantity of 1 unit price of 213. So if I put in, let's say 10 of these, you can see that the unit price is changed to 191 now. And if I click on the finder again, it will show the same kind of information. But with one more thing, you can see that for this particular finder in the AR pricing, it shows the base price of $142, but it also shows the price list scope because like this is the retail price list. Here, okay, let me try retail price list. 150% markup, and then the unit price would become like 213, and then because of the volume discount of 10%, the price becomes 191. Yeah. Okay, again, in the AR pricing side, if I put in a quantity that approaches a particular threshold, you can see it actually shows the pricing suggestion as well, because it's also showing there's a suggested price. If the user enters if the user buys like 20 of these, then they will get a better unit price, better discount. Okay, so basically it's all automatic as long as the user uses the regular invoice entry screen. Okay, so you have seen these visual process flows for the products. So I think that's probably that's about it. Oh, one more thing I want to actually show you on the AR side, because we also added one more feature where you can actually set up a future base price, which is actually not possible at all in Sage 300 right now. So if I select an item number, for example, and then um, currency code, a unit of measure, I can actually set up something like this. So basically what it's saying is for this particular item, this currency code and unit of measure, I am setting a future price of $200 that is going to take effect on October 1st. And what would happen is on October 1st, or if the user creates an invoice dated after October 1st, this particular this new price would kick in. So this actually makes it a lot easier for the customers to actually set up a future prices in advance, which is not possible right now inside Sage 300, because there's no way for the customers to actually set up a future base price. If they want to do a price increase, I think most of them would need to set it up in the Excel spreadsheet maybe, and then need to actually import that right at the correct moment in order for that particular price to take effect on the correct date. Okay, so this is actually a good feature for them to basically preset future price increases into the system, and it will automatically kick in when the date comes. Okay. All right. So that's basically the major things I want to show you on the OE and AR pricing. So just a very quick recap. The benefits of this product, of course, is for OE, it's a way to simplify the priceless management. So the whole idea is to help the user to just like create one base price or one price list for each item, which is usually a headache for the users right now, because they have to maintain like multiple price lists for an item. It's very hard for them to actually update prices if there are many different price lists for an item. Okay, and it's also a way to eliminate contract pricing, because it's again another thing which is quite hard to maintain right now with the pricing product. If they actually set up the combinations correctly, let's say if it's for a particular customer buying a particular item, that concept basically replaces the contract pricing concept inside inventory control, and there's unlimited discount levels and unlimited customer groups they can set up inside the pricing product. And on the AR side, of course, AR right now does not actually have a pricing solution at all. Right now, AR, there's only one price for an item, but there's no pricing system at all. And then the pricing system from AutoSimply gives the user the ability to use AR as a complete invoicing system if the user only uses AR standalone. Okay, and I also mentioned the upsell opportunity with the price suggestion feature, and also the sales performance report that would actually show the customer how their sales actually relate to the discounts they actually set up in the past. Okay, the price of these module for OE pricing, it would be $1,500, and for AR pricing, $1,000, and of course that the 18% annual maintenance adds on to that price. And I just want to point out one thing: if you want to find out more about this particular product, there's a website, the px648.wordpress.com, which is the link on the right side, and it actually has all the information you would need to find out about this product. So maybe I'll just like show you this particular website. So if you go to this particular site, it has a description of the product, product descriptions of, let's say, OE pricing. It also includes the installation guide and user guide for both AR pricing and OE pricing. So you can actually find out all the things you need to find out about this product, and also include some sections on how the prices are calculated based on the discounts, and if there are many discounts set up for different combinations of different customers and items, how the system actually apply or pick a particular account to apply during a sale, for example. So on and so forth. And basically, it also includes like help screens for all the screens, help for all the screens in the product. Let's say OE pricing, let's say the volume discount screen. It has the help and basically describes like how that particular screen works. So you can find out like all the things you need to know about the pricing product on this particular website. So go to this website and take a look and send us any question you have on this particular product. So I guess like Robert, so I can actually open up the floor for questions, or do you have questions noted that I should answer right now?
Thanks, Edmund. Yes, one question, just as clarification, can a price list be imported directly from Sage 300 into the pricing module?
Can a price list be imported into the pricing module? I would think that that relates to the base price of items. So if it's something to do with the base price of the item, then the import would be done through the price list import, not really the pricing module.
Okay, so we're just reading the price list from Sage 300 in the pricing module. You don't have to copy it over.
That's correct, because like we are actually taking the base price from the IC price list.
Correct.
So the import will be done inside the IC price list.
And another question, can you create a group using a customer type rather than the customer account number?
Okay, right now you have to use the customer account number. I think you mean the customer number. Right now, you can only create a group based on the customer number, not a customer type. So I imagine the type would be the ABCDE that was standard in the past in Sage 300. I assume that is the case. However, I want to show you one thing. If the customer already set up some customer types in the past and they implement and they want to use this pricing module, there's a migration utility inside the pricing module. So what happens is during implementation, the first time, they can actually say like for these particular groups, what customer type they want to migrate to. And this particular migration utility would actually create customer groups inside pricing based on the customer types. So if the user already set up like a different customer types in the past, A, B, C, D, E, with different customers, they can actually use the migration utility and easily migrate and create customer groups for those customers, and then start using the customer group inside pricing after that.
Very good. Another question, just asking about a comparison between the functionality that comes in the pricing modules versus what comes standard within Sage 300. Imagine you might be able to get that from the documentation you just showed us.
Yeah, correct. And I think the thing to point out would be the difference would be, as I said, in Sage 300 right now, the customer is limited to have only at most 5 discount levels set up per item, and also at most 5 different customer types throughout the entire system. And for the pricing module, you can set up unlimited discount levels for any item, and also unlimited number of customer groups. And that would be the major difference. Another difference would be inside inventory control right now. There is no history of price changes at all, and also I don't think they would actually have the sort of price sales performance reports based on the different discounts shown. I showed earlier, and in our pricing product we actually have those. So there's a history of price changes and reports that would actually show sales against the different discount levels or base prices that were used in the past.
Great. Another question, is the future price functionality available only in the AR pricing module?
Yes, right now it's only in the AR pricing module, but I think I have actually heard from quite a few people that they actually want it inside the OE pricing module as well. So we can consider adding that as well.
Great. And I presume the PowerPoint that you used on today's presentation is also available?
Yeah, sure. I can make it available. And what I can do is I will make sure that this is available in the download area in on the AutoSimply website, the product download page, where you can actually download the product for pricing, and also the guides and stuff like that. And I'll make sure I include this presentation in that area as well.
Great. Thank you very much, Edmund. We appreciate the presentation. Very well done. And thanks everyone for attending today. We appreciate your time. If you do have any follow-up questions, please email us with those questions, and we look forward to speaking with you very soon. Thanks again for attending today's webinar on the AutoSimply OE and AR pricing.